everyone, my name is Melissa from Inspire Me ASAP and welcome to my third grade classroom. Let's go on a classroom tour. In this area of our classroom, I like to call it the heart of our classroom, is our classroom library. And this is an example of how I have my books organized according to author and genre, not according to reading levels. So at the beginning of our classroom library, we have all of our picture books, and then we start with our Cam Jansen, which is David Adler, and we continue on through all the different genres that I have books of. And some of our most popular ones are Diary of a Wimpy Kid, of course. We have a lot of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Cat Ninja, Dog Man, Ricky Ricotta, Mighty Robot, I Survived. Those are the most popular chapter books that my students really gravitate towards. But as you can see, the focus is to have a wide range of different levels without actually leveling the books. Students take ownership over the classroom library. So what that means is at the beginning of the year, we teach different classroom expectations for them to be able to follow the classroom library expectations. The students know how to use their classroom library stick holders to mark their spot of where they are grabbing their book. And at the beginning of the year, one of the mini lessons that I teach is how to know a just right book for you, how to shop for a just right book, how to select the books from the classroom library, and then where to store them when they are waiting to read the books. And these are their book nooks. So they put 3 to 5 books that they are reading inside of their book nooks, along with their reading folder and their reading notebook. One of the other mini lessons that we have at the beginning of the year when we're establishing how to use our classroom library is we have our shopping schedule. So students have an assigned shopping day where it is their day to come and shop for books that they would like to read. And that's also the day where they get to sit on the couch. They get very excited for that opportunity to sit on that comfy, cozy couch. And that's just a fun way to have a very inviting atmosphere for a classroom library. Some of the other things that we teach at the beginning of the year is how to take care of the books, how to treat the books with respect, and how kids know what is a just right book for them to read. Where you can see here that we have some book series challenges going on. When I'm recording this right now, it's actually our last day of school. So if I'm a little bit fidgety or a little bit stumbling on my words, that's because I have a million things going on right now in my mind. But I also wanted to share the classroom tour with you for how it looks like at the very end of the school year versus the very beginning of the school year. So this is something that we ended the school year with as a way to motivate students when it's really hard to kind of find that engagement with students in the springtime after the state testing has finished. I found that having a book series challenge is really motivating for the students, and it is literally just as it sounds. The students are the ones to select one of the series that they want to read all of the books in. So again, it's student choice, student selected, and all they do is literally just check off the books and the date that they finish reading them. There is no prize when they finish all of the books. So even all 21 of the books that we have here, there is no prize once they finish reading all that, other than just the pure enjoyment that they get and the gratification that they get from reading all of those books. The one thing that I do is I do take a picture of the student next to all of the books that they read in the series, holding up their book challenge, and then that way I send it home to parents on Seesaw or I email it to them, and that's just a fun way to celebrate their accomplishment. But there is no prize that they get other than just the enjoyment of reading all those books. So that's one of the things that we end the school year with. We also ended the school year with our races for our constructed writing response for our reading prompts. And this was tied into engaging detective theme that I use to teach the races writing process. And I initially had the bulletin board set up on that side of the classroom, but then I literally had one of the bookshelves here completely fall down. So in very real life teacher, how this works, I created this into a little bulletin board setup. So I just, you just got to do what you got to do when you have those things happen. And literally we were laughing because the caution tape that was up, it actually served more than one purpose when the bookshelf came tumbling down. So on to what we used as our detective theme for teaching races. I began every reading lesson by setting the detective music on and playing some detective music. I would put on my detective suit, trench coat, and I would put on the full ensemble, and we would begin the lesson by getting a new top secret case file. Students would open up, so suspenseful, they would open up one of the case files, and it would indicate what their mission was for that day, what their reading task was for that day. So for example, this one is mission 4, explain the evidence. You must correctly explain in detail how all evidence supports the answer. Now, each one of the mission coincides with a different letter of the race's acronym. So R would be restate the question, A would be answer the question, C cite text evidence, E explain what it means, S summarize main ideas. And every time students would open up for a new mission, they would then see the top secret passage that they had to read and then respond to. And again, all of them coincided with the actual races acronym, what we were looking for a constructed reading response, a constructed writing response to a prompt. That was a very engaging way to motivate them to be able to go back to the text, find that text evidence, highlight the text evidence, and use that in their writing, citing that in their writing, all in preparation for the state testing that we have in 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, but also just as a way to write a very well-constructed paragraph. It doesn't have to be just for the testing prompts that the students are given, but it just so happened that we did use this during the state testing time because, again, it was very motivating for them. When they passed all of their missions, because they did have to pass, so I was very strict. I did not let them go easily past. They had to work hard and really show they were either restating the question clearly, answering the question very clearly, and being able to cite that text evidence, explain what it means. Once they passed all of those missions, then they were an official detective and they got their badges, noting that they were that official text detective, and they were able to take a picture with me all dressed up in their detective gear and their props that we used throughout the different unit. So that was how we ended the year for reading. And then we're going to move over here to where I have my small groups for reading or for math time. And one thing I wanted to show you about this area of the classroom is our bulletin boards that we use for the different reading genres. We use HMH for our reading series. And this is one thing that we just adopted for a part of our reading curriculum last school year, so it was new for us. And the one part that I really love about the workbooks is that we are able to literally cut it and dissect it to really focus in on studying each one of the genres. So when we are, for example, introducing narrative nonfiction, we will create the anchor chart together, and I will have the students literally cut out evidence of what each of those characters characteristics of the genre looks like. So this is our anchor chart that we do together, but then they work in small groups so that they also are replicating what we did together on the anchor chart. So for example, one day I will teach what the actual genre and the definition of what that genre is. I will introduce one of the characteristics of that genre. Depending on the text that we are reading, I teach them what evidence looks like. So I explicitly teach that. And I say that this is, for example, evidence of real people and events, and then they go for part of their independent work to find a different example of evidence that would be the characteristics that I just taught for that day. And that leads me to what we have up here on the corner area of the classroom, which is our classroom timeline. And that's something that I actually did that was new for this school year, because I noticed that, again, on our state testing and even just learning about text structure, they had a really hard time with chronological order and understanding what a timeline is, and knowing the importance of how to be able to read that graphic feature when they see it in a text. So I thought of a way to be able to concretely teach that to them in a way that they would understand with their own real life. And that is why we started the classroom timeline with the first day of school. So we literally took a picture on the first day of school, August 15th, 2024, caption, first day of third grade. And then as we moved on throughout the year, we took pictures of big events. So it really taught the students, like, not everyday things are going to be included in a timeline in our real life, but then also in the text when we're reading about somebody's life. It's not those mundane details and events that happen, it's those really important things that happen that we would include in a timeline. If we move to this section of the classroom, this is where we have all of our writing resources and writing materials that we use for a writing workshop. At the beginning of the year, students decorate their writer's notebook. That's one of the first things that we do throughout the years. They decorate their writer's notebook, and that's something that they do for their morning work. So they can grab one of these carpet squares, and these I just got literally for free at the local, it was like a local flooring store. I said that I was a teacher and they had a giveaway one day, and so I was able to get a classroom set of these, and they can literally grab a carpet square, go anywhere in the classroom, grab their writer's notebook, and that's what we do during our morning work time. They use different colored pens to represent the different stages of the writing process. So for example, if they just are starting a new story in the writer's notebook, they use the blue pen. They just want to get their idea down fast. We're not focused on conventions. They use a blue pen to do that. Red pen is for editing. That's when they're meeting with me and we're going over some maybe modifications that they can make, some revisions that they can make, and some edits that they can make to make their writing even stronger, to make their writing better. And then we also have here just different fun resources. Sometimes I have struggling or reluctant writers in my class, and what I found is that each one of these little fun things that we use in the classroom has been so motivating for creating excited writers. Even something as simple as earning a time to use pencils, and that goes such a long way. Using permanent markers if we're learning about different graphic features and they're making their own, for example, blank book or flip book. One of the things that we ended the school year with, we started with an All About Me book. So they create their own book where they are, it's just a fun way to teach each other about, to build a classroom community and learn about each other. But they create their own book. We go together page by page. At the same time, we're learning the writing process of how to do that. So for example, we start the year with an All About Me book. And then one thing that we ended the year with was text and graphic features. So we had one of our common assessments, there was a lot of questions about text and graphic features, and they had to write a response on it. So I knew that I hadn't taught that in depth for them to be able to do a well-written response for that. One thing that I did is I taught several lessons, and we created a text and graphic features book where they were finding evidence of all of the different capital letters, bold print, illustrations, diagrams, maps, and so on for all the different features that we saw as we were reading our stories, and they were much better prepared to take that assessment. And then, for example, we also do nonfiction or informational text as well in our writing workshop studies. So that is the very last thing for our writing part. And then the last part of the classroom tour that I just wanted to touch briefly about is our classroom economy. So if you look over here, I somewhat have the classroom economy set up, but then if you look over here at the back part of the classroom, I have where the classroom jobs are posted. And students know that they have a classroom job that they need to do every day. So they actually apply for that classroom job, and every quarter, so I do not change them every week, it takes way too much work. Every quarter they apply for a new classroom job, and if there are several students that are applying for the same job, which the most popular one, as you would probably think, is teacher helper. So if I have multiple students applying for that job, I literally conduct interviews just like we would in the real life, and I try to replicate that as much as I can. So I will have interviews for that job, select students based on what their personality would be best for, and once that they know what their job is, they then are assigned a salary. So again, connecting it to real world. They have a salary that they get paid if they do their job without any reminders. So if they need constant reminders, who's the door holder, where are you? They do not get their full salary. I'm very strict with that. It really does help teach responsibility, and they help each other with it. Oh, door holder, where are you? So they do help each other with that. Every Friday, they get payday. They are very excited when it is a payday. I have one of the jobs being a banker, and the banker is the person who is going to pay the students their salary for the job, and students then are able to decide if they are going to spend or save their money, and if it's a shopping day every other Friday, they can choose to purchase something. Some of the rewards that I have back here listed on our bulletin board are stickers, pencils, puppets, puzzles. Some of the most popular ones are fun things that they don't really have time to do during the school day, which is like Play-Doh, puzzles, and things that they get to play with. They love buying that, and I love offering that because, again, it's just a fun, easy way to give students a reward. So students then are able to shop for what they would like to purchase, or they can choose to save their money. And I do have some other tangible things as well. They can buy like blank books. They love decorating blank books. And that's just one example of like a tangible reward that they can buy. Throughout the school year, they have the opportunity to earn bonuses for a clean desk, bonuses for good behavior, going above and beyond. And then on the opposite end, they also can be fined. So things that we noticed are a chronic problem, like we had Chromebooks and cords being left on the floor at the end of the day. And it was driving me nuts because the janitor couldn't do their job and we were tripping all over it. So that was a $10 fine. And throughout the school year, we created the fines and the price of the fine, the price of the fine as we went throughout the year. So again, students are really taking ownership when they are the ones who are identifying what is a behavior that needs to have a fine for it and how much is it going to be. It's not just me setting that or me telling them. It's really part of that classroom community and the students taking ownership and having an input in that. Okay, I just want to make sure oh yes, rent. Rent is due every seventh day of the month. So it's really sticking and tying into that whole real life experience, teaching students that the desk that they are sitting at is part of their rent, and that's what they pay for. One thing that I really wanted to try this school year was to also have an electricity bill that they had to pay. I told my students that eventually we were going to do that, and then to be honest, we just never got around to it. So you can go so far with that classroom economy, and in some years I'm able to do so much more, and then in other years it's just I stick with more of the basics. Alrighty friends, I think I covered the main things that I wanted to tell you about in the classroom tour. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you so much. I am off to go celebrate the last day of school with my students. Cannot wait. It's pouring rain outside, but that's all right. Last day of school today. Bye-bye.